So, ladies and gentlemen, we're live in studio again with one of our experts. We have to bring you back, Bryan, because there are seasonal conditions. Mother Nature rules the world, many people argue. And so we had a hailstorm come through.
Yes.
And then everything starts happening. It's like, oh my gosh, how do we deal with this? And I started calling some of my buddies, and I was like, oh my gosh, we got all these roofs and all these cars that have now been damaged. So we need an expert. So we called you guys.
Glad to be back.
Give it up for Bryan Clouser, Real McCoy Body Works. You guys are good. So we said, we know.
Thank you.
Call the name we trust. I have a claim. It was a weird situation. Somebody threw a rock at my car. And I said, and Bryan actually helped me. He took care of this over the phone to get it initiated, so I knew whether or not I had something to deal with. And he looked at the pictures. He says, you're not going to fix that with a dent removal because it was on the seam. Mm-hmm. So now we go through the rest of the process, and we know how it happens, so we got to get it fixed, and it'll be covered. But you're walking me through all of that, and I appreciate it. It's just great to have somebody to talk to.
Claims process, yes.
Yes, and it's just like you get in this kind of situation, and you're like, I don't know how this could go, but I hope I have somebody who knows what they're doing, and that's like, it's good to have friends who know this kind of stuff. All right, so with that, we're going to talk about paintless dent removal. The acronym a lot of people use for that is PDR.
PDR,
right?
Yeah.
And that's also public, no, that's something.
I know.
Bull Riders, PBR.
PBR.
But we're talking about PDR, paintless dent removal. Bryan, tell us what's going on in our world and why that's such an issue that you need to learn about.
Paintless dent removal. It's been around a while, long time. It takes the repair process on a hail, storm damage. It cuts it in half, if not more. Saves a lot of cost. Saves you time, money, time out of your car. It speeds the process up a lot. We go in there. We use a lot of different techniques. It's a specialist that does it. My son Corey, and he goes in. We put it in a area that all the lighting is proper. We look, basically diagnose. We call it blueprint, the whole repair process on it. Find out everything that's damaged on the car. Then we go in. We start the repair process, and usually within a week, a large hail job is done. If you've got just like one dent, two dents, could be done in a day, where a normal conventional repair process could take 3 to 5 a week, 2 weeks on a large hail job. So it cuts all that down in half and makes it a lot more affordable and economical for the insurance companies and the customer.
Well, it's a heck of a process, as I understand it, but it makes a lot of sense. When you actually analyze the work that you do, it's just like, oh, and tell me, here's something I reserve the right to at any time throw in spontaneous questions, because he's an expert. He'll not handle anything. But you got some do-it-yourselfers out there.
Oh, yeah.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
I've seen these kits.
The dry ice does not work.
How does this work when somebody says, oh, I can fix that dent myself? They usually make it worse.
And that was a thing, when we had metal that was, thicker gauged, and you could shrink that metal, and make it pop. Nowadays, there's so many alloys, and then we have the aluminum on vehicles right now. It just doesn't work. Yeah, that whole dry ice process and the kits and
Well, and I've seen the kits. Like I said, the kits seem like, okay, buy your little suction cup thing, and then you can put this on there, and then tell me. It's the same. I've had so many experts on. It's like, yeah, we don't mind when people do that, because we'll even talk to them a little bit about how they can try, and then when they don't get it right, which is like 97
Bring
point,
it in.
then they call the guy who told you.
Yeah, because there's a lot of kits where they'll glue a little tab on there and then pull it up, and that is part of our process. A lot of times is to glue it on there and pull the dent up, but it takes a lot more finesse than that one.
Yeah, it's like anything. You're not going to become an expert doing this one time, right? And then if you the problem, I guess you would run into with a car is that you're diminishing the value of your car, causing more damage.
Yes.
And does that you put at risk whether this thing could be covered or not? Because no, that wasn't from the hailstorm. That's from you trying to fix it.
If you don't do that right, you'll make that dent look like they call it pickling. It looks bad.
It looks bad. Okay, so we had this storm come through recently that I literally put a video out and got couple thousand views on it, just this little quick video, and we got a lot of followers. So thanks you guys for checking it out. But I was watching this hail just hit, and I thought it wasn't big enough. We actually had a neighbor not too far from here. Charlie Schneider came over and he says, "Yeah, I'll take a look here. We'll do a video about it." And he's like, "It doesn't look like you've got damage from the outside, just 30 feet away. But then when you looked at it really close, they had spike hail. I don't know if you've heard of spike hail.
I have heard, yes.
And so it had just made little gouges. Unless you like really close, you couldn't see these things. And anyway, the point was there's 1.5 inch hail. He got out his map and he goes, "Let me show you what actually happened because it's all tracked now."
Yeah.
And he goes, "It wasn't 1.5. It was 1.5 and 1.25 and 3 inch, or 2 1/4, 2.5, and you don't know what hit wherever it may have been. And so then what kind of impact that? Everybody doesn't have their car under shelter, which is a lot of people, or if they happen to have it, they're just parked out wherever it temporarily when the storm came through. They better take some serious notice about this for a lot of reasons.
Take a look at that car because you need to get it in a shaded area and see everything that's popping out on it. If you don't get it fixed, I mean, it's just a diminished value on your vehicle. You could have thousands of dollars in hail damage there, and you're like, I'll leave it. And then you go to trade your car in or sell it or something like that. And it's like, no, you've got, $2,000 to $5,000 in damage on it. You're like, oh.
And you're out the money.
Yeah.
You're out that because another one's just going to pocket the money or save a few bucks and don't worry about it later. And then they say, we'll, don't worry about that, getting it fixed. We'll fix it. They'll fix it because they'll do it for a lot less. They've got their own. But now you just lost $2,000 off what you could have sold the car for if you would have got it fixed right.
Damage is that overhead or that diminished value on that vehicle.
Okay. With that, I want to put up on the screen for everybody to look at some of the pictures that you've had that you shared with us because one of the things that was most impressive from what you guys offer, and I've been there, I've seen this room. What do you call this room? This is just a detail room, but it has lighting on it that has grid lighting, hexagon grid lighting. And it allows us to see, it puts a bunch of light lines on the car, and each one of those will show dents, and we can move around, and we can see all the dents on the vehicle. And then we have lights on the side that will, it just magnifies the dents. Okay, so let's take a look at a couple of these. This is what you're talking about. I've been in this room. It looks like you're in a movie or something.
Yeah.
It's got the neon or whatever kind of lights those are. They're fantabulous. But this is what you're going to use to zoom in. I'm going to take off the title there so people can see. This really digs in and allows you to
each one of those lines will show a different area of lighting onto that hood, roof, and panels. And then we can move and see every ding and dent on there. And then we circle it and then send those pictures to the insurance company, number each one of the dents as far as how many is on that panel, and then process the claim accordingly to the dents that's on the panel.
Well, and you guys have been doing hail damage repair for a long time, so this is some stuff that where pulled up some of your old ads.
That looks like good old St. Louis.
Yeah. So with that's a reason. So unless you have one of these rooms in your backyard, you're probably not going to see all the damage that's actually there.
All.
And that's
fluorescent lights show them really well at night. That's your best bet,
Okay.
But like sunlight, that just kind of fogs it out. You won't see them, and then there'll be one day you'll be in a parking lot going to grocery store, like, oh my gosh, look at all those dents. And
so help people understand, because this is critical. We realized this with the the roofing issue that we just recently had. And there's a lot of people I hadn't walked through the whole process, but it's a matter of you need the expert to at least look at it.
Yes.
A lot of people are afraid to go to the expert because they're going to try to sell me on something. Not the pros, not the guys that do this for a living that take care of people, or else they wouldn't be in business. Get your brother-in-law wants to take a look at it. That's a totally different thing. We're not talking about that. We're talking about get the pros. And you want them to look at it to say whether or not, and you'll help them figure out whether they should make the claim or not. Is that true also?
Yeah. Because some people might want to pay for it themselves, and we can tell you, the price range of where they're at. And it's pretty solid. Once we look at it in this room, there's no deviating from it. We got a pretty good idea of what it's going to take to do it. And we can go from there. And this is not just hail. This is a full-time, every day, every month of the year. I mean, you could have dings and dents in the side of your car. As long as that paint is not busted or cracked or gouged or anything like that, and it's a dent, that's what we do. We remove them constantly, and it's saving people so much money, because if you have a dent or two in a door, it's usually half the cost, if not more, than what it would take to conventionally repair that door and refinish it.
Right. So people understand when we're talking about the repair you have for a car, normal, somebody had an impact, right?
Yeah.
The repair there, because you're going to have to replace that piece. They got the fender, you got the side panels, you got your, what are your quarter panels, I guess. All of those, if they get damaged enough to where they can't be repaired, to pull that off, do all the screws and undo and all, that's a lot more. But I know it looks like it's a lot of work, as opposed to doing all of that. They're just going to finish it off to where it comes back and looks like new by bending it back into place.
Most of the dents are what we do paintless dent removal on. Most of them go up to basically a ding and a dent, about the size of a silver dollar, a good, 1 inch, 2 inch dent. That's about the max of what we can get PDR'd out and make it look presentable.
Okay, and that's important for the average consumer to realize, because that's that line between, we'll talk about that in a second, because I want to help people understand it's best to have a place that doesn't just offer one or the other, they can do both, because then you end up with that competition. Oh, we can fix it with the PDR. No, we think it should be an auto body. No, and he's going to tell you one thing and they're going to tell you the other. You do the whole thing.
Yeah.
We'll get back into that because I think that's important. But I want people to understand this insurance issue, because some people say, oh, I'll say, and we touched on it, but when you have a damage to your car and you don't get it fixed, especially after they made a claim on it, right? If you don't get it fixed and something later, how does that work out?
If you have a claim on the vehicle and you don't get it fixed, it's obviously going to depreciate the value of the car, for one. But the main thing is get that claim going on it, get it covered, get it repaired, keep the value of the vehicle in there, and that's the main goal.
Right.
Make that a good investment.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If people make the poor decision to say, oh, I'll just hope they don't see it when I trade it in.
They're going to see it.
And, these guys are pros. They're not waiting. And they're waiting for that kind of stuff because they're like, cool, he didn't get it fixed. And then, we're going to charge you $2,000. They go fix it themselves. They've got a shop there that can do that.
Yeah.
But if you'd just done it yourself earlier on, professionally, the right way, when it was paid for, then now you're going to get that full back value of your car long term. Okay. And that's what I want to help people understand. That's important, because how many times, and it ties into also what we were saying, you think there's a little bit of damage, there's actually a lot more than you realize, and that's why you have to have an expert go look at it. Okay. The other important issue we talked about was that you got your buddy who can do the paint dent removal, okay, or a separate company, but when you have both in one place, you can do the whole thing.
Yes.
How does that really benefit somebody?
So the big thing with paintless dent removal, there's a fine line there of what can be repaired, what can't be repaired. Lines, certain contusions, things like that hamper the repair process. There could be reinforcements, behind panels that do not allow that dent to come out properly. If you have, just like your average storm chaser that comes in, he's only going to get out what he can get out and leave the rest because he can't get it. We're in a facility like ours, we can get out everything we can get out paintless dent removal wise. Whatever can't be done that way and it needs to be switched over to a conventional repair, we have the ability to call back to the insurance company, switch it over to the conventional repair, and still give you a 100% repaired vehicle and out the door.
And that's another key point you make there, because this is true, we do have a lot of guests that in the repair, remodeling, and cars kind of fall in that place. It's the second most valuable component we've talked about that people own. And so they end up with a repair that needs to be done, and then they don't get it done, and then they end up paying for it later. We talked about that. And now we end up where you end up with such damage to the value of your house, and it's depreciated. And there's another point I want to make there, but tell me about this process that you go through, so that because you have both of them in one facility, that how does that really work together? Because what they're going to end up with is somebody saying, because the insurance company's going, we're trying to save as much money as we can too.
Yes.
So we got to get this guy's opinion, we got to get that guy's opinion, and they're going to be telling each other because they conflict really if they're separate, right? And now remember the other point was these PDR guys, you said the ones who are just traveling, if you will, they do what my other guys had talked about, because they had a roof that needed to be repaired. Well, the storm chaser roof guy comes in town. The warranty's as good as long as you can see his tail lights.
Yeah.
They call it tail light warranty.
Yeah.
But when they're gone, and what was more important is because on a roof, it's generally they fix it or they didn't. I mean, there's things they can skimp on, I guess. But in this case, they fixed some of the repairs, but not all of them.
Yeah.
And now the guys are gone, and you got to reopen the claim. Tell me
Yeah,
something.
there could be two levels of the claim. So you want to always choose a solid foundation paintless dent removal company that's in your area and local that you can deal with. Because, like I said, there's always that 2 to 5% that will not come out on a paintless dent removal technique. And it might have to switch over to a conventional repair where it has to be repaired and then painted. If you go to, just a dent repair storm chaser, they're only going to get out what they can. And then you've got to deal with your insurance company and then find your local body shop to fix everything that they didn't do.
And that becomes a major hassle. Yeah.
Where us,
you
do it all in one house.
Okay. All right, everybody.
We do all that.
This reminds me, I had sent Bryan pictures of the little incident that I had where a rock was launched and threw at my car. It's a totally different discussion. But this particular dent that was made, I'm going to show this with everybody. Talk to me a little bit more. I want you to give me a little bit more about, I'm going to put up on the back of your screen here, your website and some of your reviews. And I want you to tell me about a couple of why people give you so many amazing reviews. It's you do great work, man.
Thank you.
And I'm just excited to share that with people. So let me pull that up on the wall for everybody here. Actually, I'm going to switch over to our camera for both of us there. So Bryan, tell me, when you're working on when you're producing the work that you do, how do you think it is you get such good reviews?
Personal. I take it personal.
Okay.
I want to make sure that they are 100% happy when they leave that shop. It's not just a process to me, it's a passion. So I cater to the customer. I want to make sure they're happy in every aspect, that all their questions are answered and they're getting the best value for their money. And to know that I'm there all the time, and I get to repeat customers, and I take all my customers very personal. I like to call them all my friends,
Well, yeah, and that's kind of how we feel with our show here.
Yeah.
You and I have developed a relationship as friends because you get to know somebody who's in a profession that really you're going to have some work that you have to have done eventually on your car, on your house, and these are people you want to get to know because these repairs aren't typically, $50, $100. These are big repairs you got to get done, and you want to make sure you're not getting taken. And that's where you develop the relationship you're talking about. So with that, everybody, I'm going to put that up there. I kind of paused to let you guys look at some of those reviews, but when you really get down to it, Bryan here has, look at that. This is 189. We were joking before.
Yeah.
Want to get up to 200?
Let's go to 200.
Let's get to 200. If you've got 200 reviews and you've been in business 5 years now, your own business, that's very good. I've seen a lot of companies that they've been around for a long time and they have way less. But it's a matter of you're getting so many people that when they're done working with you, they feel good about what they're doing.
Spread that word.
And this is why you've had such a successful business. I even talk about it when I drive by. We go down Highway 55 sometimes. I take a picture, and I think I posted a couple of days. There's my buddy's Bryan. Because you got the billboard up there, too. Tell me your location a little bit and why you like where you're at.
We are in Imperial, Missouri, right outside of Arnold, South County area, on Miller Road, right by the billboard, Imperial exit.
So it's a short drive from anywhere in St. Louis if you really want to.
Maybe 15 minutes from St. Louis at its farthest point.
Yeah. I mean, if you came all the way around from North County, which people could do, straight around 270, down, and then 55, 6 miles away from 55?
We're literally right off the highway, outer road of the highway.
And that's easy for people to find. Yeah. All right, well, I want to talk a little bit more about some of the essence behind what you've got here. And I want to share, talk about why you guys specialize this. Your son has helped to develop this part of your business for you.
Yes.
And how did that come about?
I wanted to get him involved with the company when we first started, and he had always talked about having a passion for the paintless dent removal side, and it's kind of a specialty interest thing that he always admired. And it was about 3 years ago, I'm like, okay, we're going to have you stop everything you're doing. You're going to school. He studied with the best out there and learned from them, and has critiqued his craft over the years and become very, very good at it.
Well,
he's a natural at it.
Yeah, that's a key to.
But it's a passion to him.
That's a key to success for any business, and when you have a passion for what you do.
Yeah.
And I was there when he was working on Dent repair recently, and I'm watching the detail. He's got to pay attention to this and how it aligned. It's like there could have been alarms going off, and he still would have been focused.
He's a sheer perfectionist.
Is that how that works? Yeah. Where did he develop those skills from? Where do you think that came from? Dad, a little bit.
I'm in the zone a lot of times, so yeah. But this guy he's top notch at what he does.
And that is what you think allows him the ability to make this a profession that can really make a difference. And so, do you think that that's what led to? I mean, were you looking for somebody to bring in PDR because you felt that was part of what you needed your business, or did it come about because of?
It came about because of his passion.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when you tie those two together, I mean, this is like, I hate to say the term marriage made in heaven with regard to business stuff that goes on, but
it's the best of both worlds right there.
Right, because now you've really got that option to
every option to repair that car.
And like I said, now I remember his name, but I won't say him. He's a friend, but who knows what that? But buddy mine, he's done PDR for years, and I didn't realize the impact there because where's the line? And that's why I want to get this picture. I keep looking at my phone, everybody, and I want to pull down this picture of the text that I sent Bryan of my damage to the back of my car, and I was for sure. I'm like, I know on the same thing, but then I've just got to decide then. So I call the PDR guy. He goes, can't fix it. Now I got to go find a separate guy to go get that done. Not in the case here, because you guys do the whole thing. And that was all done strategically. As a matter of Bryan, Bryan's a successful business guy and has done this well for so long because he's not only a good repair expert, he teaches kids at Rankin and at the other schools. Is that true? Mm-hmm. He's also a smart guy. And it's good to have somebody who's actually on the ball, who has the raw intelligence to make the good decisions to put things together.
Got to be diverse.
Diverse. Okay. Well, with regard to the whole business then, I want to go back to a little bit about the business. And you got into this business as a child. You were 16 years old and really had a passion for this. And now it's led to, and Bryan may look like he's 25, but he's a little older than that, I think.
Yeah.
But what led you to this path to make such a successful business? We always like to talk about that piece as well.
Still getting passion and taking care of my own stuff at 16 and just fell in love with it, Fell in love with it.
And so then, as a matter of passion for you, that is something you're good at and you love, when was the transition for you? I mean, if you don't mind telling that story again, because people might have missed the first time we talked about this. You were doing this at your house for your parents or friends, and then all of a sudden you realize this is what you love. A lot of kids end up making the decision. I don't say it's a mistake one way or the other. It's not. Some people think the college thing is a good thing. I went to do the college thing, but you decided you could already get into this. Is that true? And it took off.
I was doing it day and night. There was sometimes I would come home, and that's when I knew I had to do something. When I'd come home and there'd be like tow trucks dropping off cars at my house, and I'd be 3 to 5 cars deep in my driveway. I'm like, okay, we got to. It developed into it, and it just became a runaway train, and I just never looked back. And then, keep moving forward.
Well, that's right. So a lot of people do realize that we talked about the fact that you've had the business. This is where I got to put the hat on for the community purposes, everybody. We're almost through the interview, and I should have had the hat on earlier because you've been doing stuff to make a difference in our community for the whole. Most of all those conversations have been all about that. But for somebody who has that passion that starts off at such a young age, you also help encourage other people to get into the industry.
Oh, yes.
And actually teach people how to do this for a living. And have helped a lot of people start off with a career they weren't on the right path, had nothing going, and you made them into somebody now. This is they worked for you and left and started their own thing.
Yes.
You have no problem with that. Yes. And because you like to help people that way too. Tell me why you decided to go that route and why is it something you do?
It's all about the industry, and it's all about growing the industry. There's so many kids that are raised to be in the the white collar industry, and I'm all about get your hands dirty, money makers, make your money with your hands, and I really would like to see these kids get involved with it because there's a lot of money and a good career and a good future to be working on cars, and I just admired that. You know, I have always admired working on cars, working with your hands, and I love to bring kids up and teach them the craft and the trade, and steer them towards that blue collar industry of making something, create something. And in the auto body industry, you create beauty and structure back into the car and preserving it. And I just admire that, and I always have loved it.
Well, there it is on the wall, everybody. I wanted to block out my license plate because it just seems to be the thing that people do. I'm not too concerned with my license plate, but that's the back of my car, if everybody's looking up here on the screen. And I sent this to Bryan, and he very quickly came back with, yeah,
We're not pushing that one out.
we're not pushing that out. That's going to, and so you end up with this. You gave me an estimate because of my VIN number.
VIN
Was that
number,
correct?
yeah,
number?
I can get the VIN number off your car.
And so with
and
that,
then
you know a
figure
lot more
everything
about
out.
it. You can
Yeah.
do that. Tell me why how that works these days, so people understand what happens with these processes.
That all got really, the whole estimated and industry had changed through the COVID pandemic, where everything just went by your phone and everything. I could take pictures now and get your VIN number. You could send all the pictures up. I can look at all those pictures and basically write an estimate and email it to you within, an hour.
Well, that's a key to getting this stuff done efficiently, and so that's why I wanted you to share with everybody. If you're adept enough to figure out where your VIN number is, they can tell a whole lot about your car now. As a matter of, once they get that number, everything about what that car was built with, right?
Yes,
All the color, styles,
Everything
every
on
feature
that
on it.
vehicle is on that VIN number. So yeah, I can do that whole estimate by that VIN number.
And I guess that's what. Now, is this a policy that is true for anyone, or is this something that you specialize in?
No, yeah, it's pretty much the same way. A lot of the insurance companies have switched over to photo estimate phone apps, and they'll download you an app on your phone, and you'll do the same process through your insurance company, and they'll give you, what we call a preliminary estimate, where it's going to give you a starting point. And if it's not a clear image like yours, it's center punched in the deck lid, that's, it can't really go anywhere other than the deck lid. Where imaging on the insurance company side gets a little difficult because you don't get to see what's behind the panels and stuff. So those are preliminary estimates, so they're places to start. And that's the same thing with the paintless dent removal. You can do the photo app for the insurance company on paintless dent removal, but that's just a starting point for us.
Hey, everybody, I've got to interrupt right here to tell you. So now we've finished the first half hour. We're going to continue talking here. Listen to the entire interview if you're watching on ABC a lot more, because this is important what we're about to hit up here. You need to know this information. Stay tuned for more. Thanks, Bryan.
Thank you.
Giddy up.